This is why I don't do group chats. They're so fucking annoying. Not even when you're obviously planning on bombing another country, but just in the sense, I think their group chat must have had Pete Hegseth on the Department of Defense and the National Security Advisor Waltz and generals and a journalist from the Atlantic. There must have been 16 or 18 people. The notifications alone would make me want to launch missiles. Every fucking thumbs up emoji or bicep arm and fist pump and fire and every little, you got that right. I agree. And your phone, ding, ba-bing, ba-bing, da-ding. I would have thrown my phone out the window. It's maddening.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and who could have guessed the host of Weekend Fox and Friends would be bad at running military comms? Oh, right, everyone. A signal group chat, yes, a group chat, was used to coordinate U.S. military strike plans. U.S. strategy passed around like a meme, and when it all came to light, Donald Trump stood in front of the microphone, looked around like someone had just asked him what the internet was, and said, "I don't know what you guys are talking about."
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
Jon Stewart had a name for that. He called it quick onset dementia. The moment Trump is asked to answer for anything, war plans, insurrections, mishandled documents, suddenly it's like he's never heard of phones, text, or conversations.
And Donald Trump, this is when he is at his best, when he gets that quick onset dementia. Anytime he gets caught in a situation that would require some accountability, he immediately goes into I don't even have a text. I've never heard about it. This is the first I've heard about it. They confronted him on, there's classified information going on text chains, and it's not secure. They're on fucking Snapchat or wherever they're on, and they've got a journalist on there, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking. Hey man, that's not me. I do everything Goodfellas style. I go outside, I go to the phone booth, I talk to one person on the phone, or we pass notes. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. Just a remarkable game of, hey man, wasn't me.
But while Trump's playing amnesia, people are dying. 4 American troops are now dead in Lithuania. Military flight plans and target windows were discussed casually on an app you can download from the App Store, while someone in the chat was reportedly in Moscow. And now, veterans are demanding answers. Congress is holding hearings, and national security professionals, they're asking whether Pete Hegseth was drunk when he leaked the information. Jon Stewart laid it out with brutal clarity. He imagined the group chat, 16, maybe 18 people, tossing around strike plans like it was fantasy football. The notifications alone would make me want to launch missiles, he said. And then came the part that really pulled the curtain back. The tone, F Europe, F these freeloaders. What did they ever do for us, other than sign up to go to fight in a war we started over something that didn't happen? That wasn't just arrogance, that was contempt. Contempt for our allies, contempt for the facts, contempt for the very partnership that keeps American service members alive. This wasn't just some dumb mistake. This was reckless, arrogant, and dangerous. And Trump's, hey man, that wasn't me routine, it's not funny anymore. Stewart's take was serious. It was a warning. We're being led by people who treat memes like military strategy, chat rooms like war rooms, and accountability like it's optional. Paul Rykov, founder of the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America and a combat veteran, didn't hold back.
It's garbage. Everybody knows, back to World War II, loose lips sink ships. Right? He can play word games. He's a master communicator, maybe a master manipulator. But the question, again, is did you divulge anything that could have gotten anybody hurt? And he can't answer that question because he knows he's in trouble there. He's going to continue to try to spin it. But I also think it's important to see that they're flustered. He's flustered. And when the Secretary of Defense is flustered, that means our entire Pentagon is impacted. We don't have a chairman of the Joint Chiefs who's gone through. We don't have senior leadership. It doesn't set a calm, steady, strong example. And that's what we need right now to the world. And I think all of the most junior people in the military right now I wish we could do a poll. Go to any military base in America and ask them what they think of this situation. If they could talk honestly, they would say it's garbage and they know it.
This wasn't just a tech failure or an oops, wrong group chat moment. It was a systematic failure in discipline, oversight, and command culture, and it put lives at risk. That's where Congressman Jason Crow comes in, a combat veteran himself.
Well, listen, it's very clear what happened here. It's very clear. I mean, anybody can see this, right? They talked about mission planning and operational information over a non-secure chain. That is classified information by the Directorate of National Intelligence's own standards. But what's worse is that they just won't admit it. They won't accept responsibility. They won't say what everybody else knows to be true. They're just hiding it. They're trying to sweep it under the rug, and that's what's most shocking to me.
No acceptance of responsibility. Excuse after excuse after excuse. Because when you put your life on the line, when you've led men and women into combat, you don't just shrug off accountability. You set the standard. And that's what's missing here. The people at the top, Hegseth, Gabbard, Waltz, are just failing to lead. They're failing the troops they claim to represent. Every young sergeant in the United States Army is taught to seek responsibility and accept responsibility for their actions. That's what leadership looks like. And once you take on that responsibility, you better be ready to own the consequences when something goes wrong. Anyone on active duty who leaked something like this would be in prison. And yet these so-called leaders, people like Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, and Mike Waltz, are trying to blame the reporter who was accidentally added to the Signal group chat. A reporter who didn't ask to be there. A reporter who immediately did the right thing and alerted the authorities. Because if he hadn't, he would have been guilty of a crime. He didn't look the other way. He stepped up. That's what leadership actually looks like. And let's talk about Tulsi Gabbard for a second. She's a lieutenant colonel. She's held a top secret clearance. She knows better. But when questioned in front of Congress, she plays dumb. She said, didn't know anything about the messages, hadn't read them. Give me a break. That's not just dishonest, that's dangerous. They were talking about mission times, strike windows. The F-35s will leave at this time, bombs will drop at this time. And one of the people on the chat was in Moscow. You really think Russia doesn't have the ability to monitor those conversations? You think they don't have signals intelligence working around the clock? And it gets worse. Der Spiegel, a German news outlet, reported that phone numbers, email addresses, even passwords belonging to those officials, Hegseth, Gabbard, Waltz, were found online. Passwords tied to Signal, Microsoft Teams, WhatsApp, LinkedIn. Their accounts were compromised. These are the same people planning attacks on an unsecured app. Hostile intelligence services don't even need to hack the Pentagon. They just had to check the internet. If any of that information had gotten intercepted, if one of our pilots had been shot out of the sky because this mission was leaked, you know what they would have done? They would have said thoughts and prayers. Thank you for your service. Here's a Bronze Star and a Purple Heart, because that's what they give to those who get killed in combat. And instead of actually taking responsibility, they went on the offense. Trump attacked the reporter. Hegseth got off a plane in Hawaii and blamed the media. They didn't go to a skiff. They didn't lock it down. They just pointed fingers and spun stories. Now, members of Congress are literally asking if the Secretary of Defense was drunk when this happened. That's how low this has gotten. That's the level that we're operating on. The White House press secretary even claimed the Atlantic had conceded that they weren't war plans just because they published a plan under a different headline, attack plans. Meanwhile, late-night comedians are out here doing a better job explaining the scandal than the people involved. And through it all, Trump's pretending like he doesn't know what Signal is, never heard of the messages, doesn't recall the plans, which brings us back to what Jon Stewart said. It's just a remarkable game of, hey man, it wasn't me, but we saw it, we heard it, we know what happened, and we know exactly who's responsible. They should be fired. They should resign. And they should all be held accountable to the exact same standard that they screamed about for years when it was Hillary Clinton. Lock her up, remember that? All over the private email server. But what these people did, leaking strike times and target details in a group chat while someone sat in Moscow, is 1,000 times worse. And now they're pretending that they don't remember a thing. Tulsi doesn't know what messages we're talking about. Walt says it wasn't war plans. Trump's out here acting like he's never heard of Signal. Suddenly, they're all suffering from quick onset dementia, and it is absolutely unacceptable. And that is an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.